about nothing. We're back. Nick, why aren't you on this show right now? I literally brought you on. Anyway, um, we're talking about DC, guys. We're talking about Marvel. We're talking about the state of both these franchises and the future of what's going on. Number one, because we have a serious reboot happening, but meanwhile, with that reboot, we also have two DC movies that are coming out. Nick, are you there?
Hey, buddy. Yeah, I can
All
hear
right.
you just fine now. That was really weird.
I That was really weird because everything was working at my end, and I can't see your face, but I can see your whatever. So,
Yeah, I'm still working that out.
okay. So anyway, we're talking right now, guys, for joining us. We're looking at the state of Marvel and the state of DC and what's coming down the pipe with some of their issues. We're also looking at how the writer's strike and the actor's strike is really going to set these shows and these franchises, I should say, back. I'm not going to repeat myself, what I said earlier, but I think let's start with DC because two. We have two DC movies coming out before James Gunn's official reboot, nuclear war, all that. And one of those comes out I believe it's on the 18th. It's in 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, and that's Blue Beetle. Now, James Gunn himself confirmed that the Blue Beetle character is going to be part and canon for his DC universe. But he made it very clear to say the character, not the film. What does that tell you, dude? What does that tell you? That tells you that this film, and I'm going to say it right now, and I'm going to get hate for it, and I don't care. I said it on my podcast, The Life of an Average Joe, out now. I think that the Blue Beetle trailer looks so mediocre and so generic and copy and paste that I don't even care. It looks literally like the same formula that DC has done over and over and over again.
Yeah, I just want to see it just because of Blue Beetle himself. The trailer didn't wow me, but I do like how the suit looks at least.
No, and look, it's probably going to be mildly entertaining. It is set up for failure already.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking that they're projecting it to get 17 million opening weekend.
Jeez.
It's probably going to be another loss for DC.
I guess that's based off of like the tickets pre-ordered so far.
Yeah, projection, history, hype machine, all that. Now, some people are sitting there saying, "Hey, look, it's not fair because the writers are on strike, the actors on strike. There's no promotion for it." And I say that's complete bullcrap because look at what happened with Shazam 2, zero promotion. Look what happened with The Flash, zero promotion until the end, and The Flash lost $200 million. dollars.
Yeah. I heard it's getting a little bit of a comeback on the streaming though. I'm not sure how well that is, to be honest.
Not enough to make up $200 million. dollars.
Oof, that's a bummer.
Um, I mean, let's be real. The Flash was a mediocre film at best. And the reason that I think that, in my opinion, I think that Blue Beetle and quite frankly, Aquaman 2, which by the way sounds like a dumpster fire, and it has been pushed back 3 times, reshot 3 times,
Man.
over budget by millions. I think that both those movies should go straight to streaming. I don't think they
Yeah.
should hit the theater. You now have a strike on your hands, so you're not going to get any promotion for it. You're not going to get any interviews for this. Your track record of Shazam, The Flash, Black Adam has proven that your movies are not bringing people in. Look, DC fans like to go online and talk about how great they are and how much they want to go see these films, but they don't show up to the movie theaters at all. And the reason they don't show up is because how can you have faith in a company that makes decisions like, we're going to scrap Batgirl even though it's completely done. You know what? We're gonna do a second season of Velma, which is garbage. We're gonna scrap the Scooby Doo movie, the second one. Why not? Like, I don't trust the company, so why should I give my money to them?
Exactly. It's like they're waiting to which foot to shoot themselves in with every release. Like, got a little too many holes in the left foot. Let's do the right foot this time.
It's so weird to me because even if I want to get behind Blue Beetle, I'm not going to get wrapped up in the movie when clearly James Gunn has an idea in his head that whatever happens in the movie really isn't going to matter. And if he chooses to use Blue Beetle again, he's going to rewrite everything anyway. So why would I want to go see
Yeah,
it? Why would I care?
that's what it sounds like too. It doesn't seem like he has faith in this movie because he hasn't been really talking about anything regarding it. Just the like you were saying, just the fact of the character. And yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. It's just really odd.
Well, do you blame him? Why should he go promote something that wasn't his, that happened before his regime? And if it tanks, he can be like, "Look, that's not mine." Like,
Yeah, that's true. That is
I
true.
didn't. Same thing with Aquaman 2. Do we really care about Aquaman at all? No, we don't. Because the movie looks like garbage. Amber Heard is in it, so who cares?
Amber Turd.
Amber Turd. And we haven't heard boo hoo if Jason is even coming back to the DC universe. There hasn't been any confirmation that he's going to be Aquaman, he's going to be Lobo, or anything. And the track record shows that if he was part of the whole Snyder scene, chances are this movie's not going to matter.
And the Flash just further confused more things along that matter.
Why would you? That's why I'm like, why would you release these movies instead of going to streaming? Because you're not going to make any money. I will be shocked. Blue Beetle reaches 50 million the opening weekend, 40 million. I don't think Blue Beetle in its run is going to beat Black Adam.
Man.
And I
Yeah,
and
I
I
mean,
don't think it might be the biggest loss. Shazam 2 was one of the biggest losses for DC that
excuse
they've
me.
had. And DC
Yeah, that
now
was a
has
bummer.
out of 10 movies, okay, just to let you know, out of the 10 biggest comic book movie bombs, DC has 6 of them. What are we doing here? What are we doing?
Oh
Can,
man.
and this is where I think it sets up, and this isn't to bash DC, I'm going to Marvel next. This is where it sets up James Gunn to almost certainly fail. And what I mean by that is, I'm not anti gun. I think that, quite frankly, he's the best choice.
Yeah, totally.
Whether I agree with all of his decisions or not, he's the best choice. And at least he has a plan. Again, that plan is not executed yet, but at least he has one, which is more than what we can say for the previous regime. My thing is, James Gunn has made it clear that Superman Legacy is going to be his first big movie launching the new DC whatever universe, right?
The roster in that looks promising too.
It does. Some of the casting looks great. Here's my problem with that. I almost don't think it should be Superman. I don't think that should be the movie to launch it. I understand
Yeah.
why, but you are putting the weight of the world on that movie. You are saying Superman's got to be the guy to lead the DC, and I understand why. But if that movie fails in the eyes of the people that own Warner Brothers Discovery, whatever, and if that movie receives criticism even more so than Man of Steel did, James Gunn is fighting an uphill battle, and his time with that company is shortened.
Yeah, especially when he's already fighting the issue that the issue that Henry Cavill had as Superman. Like he didn't get to have a truly successful run, and WB just trashed his career with that. His Superman career, excuse me.
Sure, sure.
And it's going to be I think it's going to be hard for people to accept a new Superman, but it's kind of cool that he almost looks like a Henry Cavill, like
Yeah,
he's related to him in a way.
I don't think it's going to be hard for people to accept a new Superman, as it's going to be hard for people to accept a movie that doesn't live up to our expectations, and our expectations
Mm,
are very unrealistic. We
yeah,
want this Superman to be as good as Cavill was, but let's forget Henry got a lot of criticism for Man of Steel as the movie,
yeah,
and Batman vs Superman got a lot of criticism. So
yeah,
it wasn't like he had great movies. He was just a good choice.
yeah. I think what helps the movie too is it's not just Superman in this movie. They have like Mr. Terrific and a couple other people in the cast, which I think is another good thing we've talked about in the past with these DC movies, regarding, especially regarding like the main three that they keep wanting to reboot: Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, etc. So if they were to do this again, like they're doing now, it's good that they're expanding the universe, showing it that, yeah, there are tons of other superheroes living around these other people.
Sure.
So this is, and just like how Black Adam was, we had all those characters living together, trying to figure out, working around each other's conflicts and trying to figure things out, like what worked better for them all. And that's what I am looking forward to in this movie, and hopefully they pull it off because that's definitely the best way to handle these movies and to kind of break that origin movie kind of cliche that a lot of them tend to have when they're just focusing on just one sole hero.
And I think, like, I agree with you to an extent, and I'm also going to play devil's advocate. When you're introducing a new Superman, do you really need all those other characters? I don't know if you do, which is why I think, in my opinion, and they are smarter than me and make more money than I do, that they should have started DC with one of his other movies that he has slated. Bring in the Lantern Corps or the Green, whatever you want to call him. Or, you know what? Screw it. Go in and do one of the other offshoot movies. Bring in Green Arrow and make that a DC film. Bring in one of those movies that you were talking to us about and make that a DC film. Get people into that concept and then bring Superman. Because, quite frankly, Superman needs to come out like 2 to 3 years from now. I know that's a long time and people are excited, but you cannot come off the heels of bomb after bomb after bomb and hope that the audience is going to be forgiving and give you the money to watch a Superman movie. We've seen Superman get abused for the last 8, 9 years.
Yeah.
We need that to be a long time from the old regime. Bubba, hello there, how you doing? We need that to be totally spread out, and the time needs to pass so it really feels like a reboot and not just a here it is.
Yeah. And I think so too that for sure with the character being who he is, he doesn't need the support of those other characters, but it is, I think, a nice way to show that they're trying something different this time around.
That's fair.
But yeah, it's we shall see. But yeah, I think it definitely would have been better for sure starting off with some other character, like you said, like Green Arrow or Green Lantern, because we've only had like one live action Green Lantern movie, and we know how that turned out. But it's
Yeah, you know
that's
how it turned
plenty
out?
of time.
Let me tell you how it turned out. It made more money than The Flash did. That's how it turned out.
Oh, I forgot about that, yo. That's crazy.
Bro, I mean,
Oh
and
man.
that movie was trash.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no redeeming qualities in that movie. I don't care what anybody says. It was just bad.
Oh, you know what? Real quick about that movie. How excited, speaking of Green Lantern, They did confirm that we're getting Guy Gardner in Superman, right?
They did, and I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Why not the casting or?
I like the casting. I don't care how old he is. People are like, "Oh, he's old." I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah,
Um, I just I don't know. I don't know. I have
yeah,
no reason to say that I dislike it, or I have no reason to say I just don't know how I feel about it. Because I'm
that's
trying to
fair.
figure out how to sit there. I'm trying to figure out how are they going to incorporate all these characters, you know, to a brand new Superman.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. And I like the variation of them too, how we have Mr. Terrific, who's just a real intelligent guy. I don't I forget his powers if he has any besides that. But then you have Green Guy Gardner, who's just a really in your face guy. And I'm really curious how that dynamic's gonna work.
Yeah, I think it's gonna. Did this guy just ask me, "Can you teach me English, bro?" I feel like since you just typed it, you're almost there. So,
You don't want to learn English. It's really stupid.
and you don't want to learn English from us when I've worked all day and I'm completely tired.
Yeah.
Um, I think you'll be all right, man. The thing is, I know I tend to bash DC a lot, and really it's not coming from a point of I want them to fail. It's coming from a fact that I have zero faith in the company. I have zero faith in WB. It's not about James Gunn. It's not about the people they hire. I just don't know if my wallet can justify going to see these movies.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they've been learning a lot from their mistakes. It's like they take a few steps forward and then something happens and they just backtrack really bad. And it's like, what's going on here?
See, the thing is, too, like, even though that James Gunn has laid out somewhat of a plan, he's more or less just laid out somewhat of movies that he wants to make. Not
Yeah.
really a storyline plan or anything like that. And I don't need to know that. It doesn't have to copy Marvel. Matter of fact, I think Marvel would benefit from actually having one offs more and standalones more in the MCU than everything connected. And I think they tried it. They tried that at the wrong time. They tried it with wrong characters. And I think Marvel has some issues too. And one of the biggest issues with Marvel, and mind you guys, take away the strike. Let's just look at it from what we have in front of us. I think one of the biggest issues, and I'm not one of these people that complain and bash Marvel for everything they do, that are just these people that just aren't happy with anything. One of the biggest issues I have right now with Marvel is they have told us what the future looks like. They have told us where these movies are going, where they're going to end up, and what's coming. That's great. It's a roadmap. It might be bumpy on the way, but we have an idea. They told us who the big bad is, and they introduced the big bad the very first time back in Loki season one. They introduced Kane, He Who Remains, the variant. We learned about all that, and it was such an amazing feeling to see that reveal on a Disney Plus show. It was huge.
Yeah.
That was huge. That was movie level reveal. You know what I mean? That was epic, and I didn't anticipate that. I really didn't.
Nah, I didn't either. It was a crazy good surprise. That's what I loved the most about Loki was that it was twist after twist, and it helped cement the fact that the TV shows were an important integral part of the MCU, whether they were standalone, just developing a character or two, or things that directly connected to the bigger picture, like with Kang, for instance.
Absolutely. Now that was when we first saw him. We did not see him again. Now we could sit there and argue and say they dropped a little nugget in the movie. 95% of the people didn't pick that up anyway.
Yeah, you
And
told me
it,
about it, and I didn't even know it all.
right, and it was more or less for them and more or less for us to be nerds about it. It wasn't really anything that projected the story. It was just there. So essentially, we didn't hear about Kang. We didn't see Kang from Loki season 1 all the way until Ant-Man 3 was when we finally got our first taste at a new variant, how vicious he was, and how we learned the story, or at least part of the story, of Kang the Conqueror. And that was great. Whatever you think of the movie, that was great. But again, all that time, and we got nothing. They blew their opportunity in Multiverse of Madness to even hint at Kang. They blew it.
Yeah, they should have
So
did something.
something. And then so now we have Ant-Man and the Wasp, right? What else? Nothing in Guardians 3, which is fine. That was its
Yeah,
own entity. We didn't need it.
yeah.
Nothing in She-Hulk prior. Nothing in Secret Invasion. We're getting nothing. And the Marvel movie, The Marvels, is coming out November 10th. Although I'm going to get to that in a minute. There's a rumor going around right now. It's coming out November 10th. Everything that we've seen from the preview. Thank you very much. Thank you for the roses. Thank you. Grazie, grazie. Appreciate you. You the best. Um, Everything that we have seen in the preview for the Marvels doesn't really show us anything to do with Kang. It looks very separate than the big story. Now, I have discussed this off the air. I am not saying that every single show has to have Kang. Everything's got to have Kang. They got to do it the same way they did Thanos. I'm not saying that. But your next big movie, unless there's something in the post-credit scene, for all intents and purposes, is not involving Kang at all. Now, we have Loki season 2 allegedly dropping in October. Allegedly.
Which would be
It,
perfect.
which is great, but it's been February, March, April, May, June, July, October. 7 months since you've done anything with Kang. And if Loki gets pushed, my point in all this is, how are you going to go from Loki season 1 to the Kang Dynasty to Secret Wars without Kang?
Yeah, I mean, even if we got like I remember there was a theory going around that Iron Lad would have been potentially in Multiverse of Madness because of the way the trailer was looking. Like before we saw that was Captain Marvel, some people were breaking down some of the scenes and it kind of looked like Iron Lad a
Yeah.
little bit. But I was thinking that would have been at least something, some kind of variant of Kang would have been cool. You know, not saying it needed to be a focus or anything because of course the focus was already Wanda and Doctor Strange and
Absolutely. Which was fine. Which was
yeah.
fine.
So that's why I think if they at least included some type of thing, that's what's so great about variants. And for a good amount of them, they've done some pretty interesting things with the variants. But with Kang, it's like where, like you were saying too, it's like where are the opportunities? You're not doing the opportunities for some reason.
Why is this telling me to take a break? I don't want to take a break. Um,
Want to take
so
a break from dance?
Yeah, right. No, you're right though. The opportunities are dwindling because literally, if you look at it, we didn't get Kang, and guys, potential spoilers ahead. No Kang talk in Secret Invasion whatsoever. That's fine. I didn't anticipate that. That's fine. We don't have another Marvel show. We have Loki, but after that, what do we got? You've got X-Men 97, not going to have Kang.
Imagine
You've
if it
got
did
You've
though.
got you've got What If, which might have some Kang, but my point is it's not going to matter because the What If is not connected to anything that's going on with those storylines. So even if Kang's in it, it's just might as well be you and me talking about Kang stories. It has nothing to do with it. You don't have another Marvel movie that is completed and ready to go. And now that everybody's on strike, all those movies are delayed.
Yeah. They
So,
could potentially connect What If though, if they like how we saw that whole council of Kangs or whatever that is called. I think what would be really cool is if they kind of show in What If maybe Kang could be, or a variant of Kang could be the next big bad of the What If series if they decide to connect them all again like they did in the previous season.
Well, and
And I mean,
it could, but that's not going to connect to the movies.
that'd be a bummer though, like, because you figure since all those Kangs, all those multiverses of him, it should like they should take advantage of that to some degree. I would hope at least.
And you know what? They need to, because again, your opportunities to develop this Kang storyline, to develop this multiversal war, to get to an Avengers film that's called the Kang. You
Yeah.
kind of do, and I I don't know how they're going to do it, and I think they're going to have to do a little shuffling around. In my opinion, I think we're going to see different movies and shows get reshuffled again in the timeline, especially because of the strike. I think you're going to see shows that are going to have to be moved in order to fit into the Kang story, if that makes sense. Yo, can you introduce me to your friend? Oh yeah, man, this is Nick Luck from the AOK podcast.
Was
My King MBK 23. This dude is awesome. MBK movies 20. I follow him. We talk quite a bit about stuff. Make sure everybody out there checks him out. Go ahead and hit Nick Luck up from the AOK podcast. He's a writer, author, movie buff, artist.
Thank you.
Give him a follow. King, I hope that helped you out, my dude. By the way, love your content. I love that you and I have had some off TikTok convos. Great stuff. But I think they're going to have to move some things around. I really do. And I think that we may see some movies that were slated later that to be like, there's a rumor that Doctor Strange is starting to film some stuff. Well, not now, but that he's starting to film some stuff, and that could be scenes for a new movie, or they could insert him into something. They got to do something because they're not going to get to where they need to be, and that could really hurt Marvel because right now what's happening is going to hurt a lot of people.
Right? Because the whole incursions things that we definitely have talked about after Doctor Strange 2, that to the Secret Wars, that is a part of that Avengers finale that's going on. And it makes me wonder where this all is going to be slated. Like if they're going to try and get it in there before that, or what, or if they're or maybe he's going to be dealing with the after effects in three, or maybe it's just connecting to the movie itself, like Avengers Secret Wars itself, where the incursions will come to that storyline. I'm not sure, but it's great to see that there's at least some progression with that character because we know for sure Doctor Strange is one of the most capable of the Avengers.
Absolutely. He's one of the OGs, and he's experienced a lot. You hope Marvel doesn't rush it because they did that with the lockdown. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm getting to that. I'm getting to that part right now. So, King, please stay on here so you can hear what we got to say about that. So,
Yeah, because we all know rushing is a bad idea.
big time. October, yeah, just ask Snyder. October 6th is Loki season 2 as of now. Okay.
Ooh, okay.
It's also the same release date as Craven the Hunter, but nobody cares about that pile of crap. November 10th, my birthday, is
Nice.
when the Marvels comes out. However, there is a rumor, and it's been reported by two people that may or two sites. I'm not going to say who, and I typically don't buy into rumors a lot because why? But let's talk about it. That they may push the Marvels back
Huh.
because of the strike,
Oh, yeah.
and there's no way they can promote it. They have the McDonald's toys out there right now. Marvel, is Marvels.
Yeah.
Of course they are. King, Sony butchers movies, dude. Morbius, Venom, Craven. They're gonna butcher it. It looks bad, dude.
Yeah, thank the Lord they didn't butcher Spider-Man so far, at least in the multiverse sort of thing.
Well, I mean,
Spider-Verse, I
yeah,
mean.
yeah. I mean that was like Sony Animation, totally different.
Fortunately.
But there's a rumor that they might do that with the Marvels because you can't get these people out there in front of the cameras. You can't promote it, so you're just gonna have a premiere with one of your biggest. I mean, Captain Marvel hit $1 billion. People forget that. In
Nice.
2019, it was the number 6 grossing movie of the year. I don't agree
Wow.
that Venom was fun though. King, you and I disagree on this. Venom 2 was a horrible, horrible movie, and in my opinion, they ruined Venom by making him a joke. But anyway, I understand why some people like the first one, but the second one, no.
Yeah, I haven't seen the second one, but I did enjoy the first one.
Yeah, but out of all that Sony has done with with the bad guys, Venom is the best one. I'll say that.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
You know, so if they sit here and they postpone the Marvels, now it might not happen, but it's early enough that it could happen. If they do that, you shake up everything even more. Because after that, you only have coming to Disney Plus, and I don't think it's done yet. Echo got pushed to 2024. The What If season 2 is supposed to come out in 2023, but that got pushed to 2024. So you don't have anything on Disney Plus to ride out the year at all. Um, they're going to need to do some movie and shaking. And personally, I understand why they would want to postpone the Marvels. The Marvels is going to get a lot of heat and a lot of hate. That's unnecessary. It just is.
Yeah, it became one of the most. Actually, let me rephrase that. It had an insane amount of
It
dislikes
did.
on YouTube. It was
Which
ridiculous.
is crazy because I got to be honest with you. I'm not like blown away to see it. I'm not stoked. But I think that the trailer looked pretty good, and I think it looks way better than the first Captain Marvel.
Yeah, the what's making me excited about this is just the connections between all three of these characters from like Miss Marvel looking up to Captain Marvel so much, being a major fan of her, and then of course I forgot the other lady's name, but of course her connection with Captain Marvel from such a young age, growing up into now becoming a hero herself. So it's like
Yeah.
I'm really curious to see how this works out.
I like it. Captain Marvel's my least favorite out of all three of them, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to see Miss Marvel. My holdout is that the bracelets lead us to something with Kang at the end. I'm
Hopefully.
also I'm also, by the way, Mr. Negative. That could be fun. I'm surprised we don't see Mr. Negative in an animated coming up too. Like what a cool, you know what I mean? Like I don't know. Anyway, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, he
I
was
kept.
really good in the Spider-Man game.
Oh yeah. My idea though, or my hope for the Marvels, is that it kind of ties on. Again, she's missing in action.
Yeah.
And I hope that they do stuff with that because we did not see any of that. We didn't see anything of that in Secret Invasion, which by the way, spoilers ahead. We didn't see we mentioned Captain Marvel. They did mention her. And we saw about how the Super Skrulls were being formed, but she didn't come down to save anybody. They didn't talk about where she was. And quite frankly, when we're talking about rushing things, like King said, I'm going to say it. They rushed that series finale. They rushed it. The series finale of Secret Invasion was good, but you literally tried to wrap up the season in 30 minutes. You had a predictable fight at the end. We all knew that wasn't Nick Fury. It was obvious. We knew it wasn't him. You had a predictable fight, which was fine, and it was a cool fight. I wanted more of it. I thought it should have gone longer, but
Yeah.
it was cool to see. You took a show that was had us guessing, had the agreed on Emily Clark. She was awesome. You had a show that had us guessing, espionage, who's who, who's this. You had some really cool moments as far as the dialogue goes with Nick Fury and all that. Great. It was a more adult oriented film or series, which I was cool with. But you gave us 6 episodes and you rushed it at the end. And I'm sorry. What are you going to do with the story? The story's not over yet. It doesn't look like it's going to continue in the Marvels. I might continue in Armor Wars whenever that comes out.
Yeah. I think it has to be addressed to some regard because it's such a big issue right now. Figuring out who's who and how there are literally vigilantes out there just killing people, and they establish that they're making mistakes. They're killing innocent people who
Innocent
aren't
people,
Kang
yeah.
or who aren't I said Kang who aren't Skrull. Excuse me. And from what it looks like, and this is just my guess, I don't know if this is accurate or not. It looks like Rhodey was kidnapped after Civil War when he was in the hospital or
I
something.
disagree with you. No. Because why would Rhodey at Endgame, why would he try to help Rocket if he was a Skrull? There's that
Just because he's
scene.
supposed to be, well, they're supposed to be undercover, right? They're supposed to like imitate that character the best they can.
See, I don't think so. I think that he was kidnapped after Endgame. When he was hurt, when he was, everything had fallen apart and at his weakest, I think that's when the Skrulls came in. I think Endgame was him. I
That's
do.
fair.
I just think the way that he was helping Rocket, and I know that he can take on the emotions and he can try to fit in and all this, but
Yeah, because they literally take all their memories and stuff.
yeah, I just don't think that would be it. I think it would make more sense for him to be like at his weakest. Tony's gone. He's distraught. Endgame's. They just got these people back. And boom, the scrolls. It's a perfect opportunity, as the world has just experienced an influx of people to return from the blip and the giant war. They lost Iron Man. They lost Black Widow. It's a perfect opportunity for them to invade. You
Yeah,
know.
that makes sense too, especially when they confirm about the whole cleanup scenario after Endgame, and then it would make better sense story wise, especially for Rhodey at least being there
Yeah.
for Tony, or at least in that area, in that on the battlegrounds when it happened, as opposed to being kidnapped somewhere. So
So
yeah, I get what you mean. That makes more sense.
And I think we will see that in Armor Wars. Unfortunately, and by the way, King, you're right. I feel like Marvel episodes dive really good into the buildup of the story, into the layers of the characters, and for the most part, they do rush the finale. I didn't feel like Moon Knight was rushed. I really feel like we got so much with Moon Knight. I felt
Hmm.
like Falcon and Winter Soldier was pretty good.
Yeah,
I think what was the other one? WandaVision was,
WandaVision.
yeah, and Loki as well. But I think those stand out, and I think the rest had issues. Hawkeye, yeah, I didn't have an issue with Hawkeye. I thought they
Yeah,
jam,
Hawkeye was pretty solid.
yeah. But if you look at Armor Wars, which is now a movie allegedly and not a series, that is not even slated to like 2025. After Thunderbolts, after Captain America Brave New World, which Brave New World doesn't look like it's going to have anything to do with the scrolls either.
Which doesn't make sense, to be honest.
I don't think Thunderbolts is either. I think Thunderbolts might be connected to Brave New World, or could be connected to the scrolls or Armor Wars. My point is, why did we do this series now? Why did we do this series now and bring in this giant storyline when when it looks like there's no intention to really wrap it up anytime soon and just kind of go back to it down the road. And they this when we're still having trouble building up the whole multiverse Kang storyline. I felt like it was too big of a storyline for 6 episodes.
Yeah, it's definitely something to definitely not in there, and I'm glad that they didn't have an ending where it was like, yep, I guess that's it now. It's good that they still showed like, yeah, this is still an issue, and we just got to handle it. But
Thank you,
the
King.
idea of
Thank
it
you,
not
King.
really,
Thank you.
the idea of not really showing like when it's going to continue, or at least allude to it, is kind of really odd. And my guess is the idea of the Kree willing to work with the Skrull and stuff. I'm hoping this is another way for Marvel to kind of help build the hero ranks to fight the Kang Dynasty. But at the same time, that's a long. I mean, with the whole situation of it being there being so many Skrulls in humanity, I'm wondering if it's something they wanted to establish now and then kind of pepper it in between the Kang stuff. That seems a little messy, but that might be possibly what they're trying to do.
And this is where I think that Marvel kind of fails sometimes is that they don't have those one-offs. They don't have those Sonya and Glade. Yeah. Hey, Marvel needs to do something, King. I agree with you. Thank you for the gifts, by the way. Marvel fails in the one-off category. When they do it great. Moon Knight. It's in the MCU, but it's not. It's separate. There was no mention of other. It was separate. Knight. One of the coolest, amazing specials. And I know I'm a horror fan, but it was still one of the coolest, amazing specials that, yeah, could be connected to a darker side of the MCU, Blade and Doctor Strange and Midnight Suns. But quite frankly, you could just watch it and just enjoy it. And it introduced some very unique characters that we had never seen before and felt so vastly different than anything I had ever seen in Marvel, much like Moon Knight. So they succeeded on that. But when it comes to other one offs, I think they could do more of that. It can still be in the MCU. You could still have Secret Invasion going on and focus some movies and shows on that and not have it be part of this big Kang battle. But it seems like Marvel struggles with that. They're like, we're going to do this, it's done, we're going to this, back to this, and keep going. As opposed to just kind of, hey, yeah, things can happen on Earth that aren't connected to the bigger picture. You could have some heroes fighting in space, the multiverse trying to figure crap out. Meanwhile, you could also have Daredevil down there going after Kingpin. It's not going to confuse anybody.
Yeah, I think that's what's been the issue too with them trying to get that balance of having these things kind of just categorized in the proper chronological order where it kind of just flows better as opposed to like you were saying with Kang, for instance, Sam and Loki at the end of Errand of him, and then nothing until Quantumania, and then who knows when we'll see him again.
And that was in let's see, Moon Knight. Yeah, Moon Knight and Blade. 4 and 5, yeah, they're inconsistent, and I can understand that feeling. Part of it is because we got introduced to so many new characters and so many new storylines, and it didn't jive well with everybody. And the other part of it is it got interrupted quite a bit. So, when you're trying to expand a universe, I think it's complicated at times, and I think that in some of those phases, Marvel bit off more than they can chew, and they should have slowed it down. I think moving forward, we're going to see that slowdown. My only fear is it going to be too slow? Like Nick said, we saw Kang in Loki season one. It was what, a year, well over a year, maybe longer, before we actually saw him again.
Yeah.
It's, I I don't think he can get that feeling of the big bad if he's not a big bad. I feel like they should do it the way they were doing it in the first three phases. Well, it was different in the first three phases because you were literally introducing people to Iron Man, to Thor, and all those big characters. I don't think we can do that now that the MCU has established itself. I think that they can do it to a certain degree, like they did with Shang-Chi and all that. But I don't think they want to follow that same formula because then it's going to feel repetitive. Like, here's this character, here's their movies, they meet this character. I think they can do it to a certain degree, but I also think they need to divide and go, here's the main story for the MCU, phase five or whatever, but here's all these other little things that are happening that are just part of the MCU as a whole. Like, you're fighting Kingpin. Meanwhile, the Marvels are in space dealing with the Skrulls, but we also have this storyline where Blade is hunting vampires. Like, and it's okay that we have those things. They're in the MCU, but they're just different. And I think that's the way they need to go.
It's also more refreshing too for the casual fans, so that way, like with the whole Infinity Saga, as great as it was, people were
See you later,
often,
King. Sorry, Nick. Hold that thought. I want to say
yeah,
goodbye to King. King, thank you so much for coming on, man. Go to bed, get some rest. I know our time zones are different, but I really appreciate your support, and you know I love you, man. So thank you. Go ahead.
good stuff. But yeah, as consistent as the Infinity Saga was, it was, excuse me, they were able to, yeah, like you were saying, they were setting up all these things, and it was the first time doing so. Now we have the foundation. Everything is laid out. We're well versed with this world now. But back then, people were really turned off because they were worried. They had to watch almost everything to figure out what was really going on.
Agreed.
In these phases, you don't need to do that. So I think they've done a good job with opening up more to the casual fan so people can, not feel so intimidated diving in and also give them a better chance to become fans and want to do that as opposed to feeling forced to doing so.
And that's fair. And I
But it
think
works against them at the same time.
it does because when you have this big plan and you introduce all those movies and those shows, people are like, do I have to watch this? And Marvel still does those things where, like, okay, Agatha's coming out. We don't need an Agatha show. We don't. We just don't.
Right.
Entertainment, maybe. Yeah, like the cast could be fun. Is it going to give us more a backstory on the Scarlet Witch? Or I hope so. But
Yeah.
let's be real. It could have nothing to do with anything. We don't really need it. So then why would somebody really want to watch it if it doesn't connect to anything and you don't really get anything from it? Then now if you look at Moon Knight, not connected to anything, but it was a good show. It got you thinking, it got you confused at times, and it still gave us this character that could come back. Fine, it wasn't connected to anything going on in the MCU, but it could be down the road, and at least you know his history. I think that Marvel needs to give the casual fans some more of those shows and movies, which is why they need to be one-offs or separate. But I also think they need to control the main narrative because I think that's what they do well. Their track record has proven that even in their some of their movies that have fallen, their track record proves that they are still better at doing it than DC ever was.
True that. Yeah, I agree. It's good to see that they still have a plan, even though it still seems a little inconsistent for sure. But it's yeah, they're on a better foot than DC.
Well, yeah, and they have been for a while. I mean,
Yeah.
even right now with DC's big wins, you've got the Suicide Squad. The second one was a good win for him, even though it came at a bad time because COVID was still going on. It was received well. Peacemaker received very well. Batman, the Batman, starring whatever his name is, Pattinson, was received very well. You still don't have a lot. You just don't.
Yeah.
You lost Wonder Woman. First movie was great. Second one was horrible.
Oof.
Aquaman, the first one was entertaining, not the best. It was entertaining. Second one's look, it just looks bad. It just looks bad. Man of Steel was solid. Then you got Batman versus Superman. Then you went
Oof.
Justice League, and then you went Justice League, the Big Mac edition, 17 hours long of unnecessary footage. And it was still, so I mean, like, Marvel's worst films have still made more money than DC's worst because of their track record. Look,
Yeah, and I
Ant,
still can't think of one I don't like from Marvel.
the more and more I think about it, it's probably Thor Love and Thunder for me.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it when I saw it because it was exciting to see on the big screen. You know how I feel about Christian Bale.
Hmm.
I love the soundtrack and there were moments, but overall, they really crapped the bed on that movie. It could have been so much better. I
Yeah.
don't think that's my least favorite. I probably think that Captain Marvel's my least favorite. My light just went out for some reason.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Yeah, it literally the ring I have just went out. I don't know. It was that's probably my least favorite, and I'm getting ready to rewatch it again because, in all fairness, I've only seen it once. So,
Oh yeah, me too. I'm due for another rewatch.
and I got to watch Ant Man and the Wasp: Quantumania again
Hmm.
because, again, I've only seen it once. I did watch Black Panther twice. I still feel the same as I did the first time I saw it. So I just thoroughly enjoyed it. So Black Panther 2. Sorry.
Yeah.
I've seen Black Panther 1 like 20 times. So. But yeah, man, I don't know. I think that we are in for. I think that two things can happen. I think that if Marvel slows down, reconfigures, and takes advantage of this downtime, we could go back to the early days of Marvel. I think if DC takes its time and I mean really does its due diligence and puts out a decent movie, no, not decent, but a good movie when they come back, I think you're going to start to see things truck along. But if DC puts out another movie that bombs, and if Marvel tries to play the rush game, then all those plans go to waste.
Yeah. I mean, we have plenty of examples of why rushing anything never works out. Not having a plan never works out, or at least not rarely, if ever. And Marvel knows how to make successful stuff. They have the blueprints, so they know how to keep it going, even if they have some movies that aren't as strong, or stories, TV shows, whatever that aren't as strong. They they show that they learn from their lessons typically.
Absolutely.
And now that James Gunn is in the other guy, whoever he is with DC, that's looking promising. So it's yeah the it's probably certain that Aquaman 2 is gonna bomb based off of what the other movies did. But
Absolutely.
yeah,
And you know what sucks about this one? Aquaman 2 comes out after Blue Beetle. So you've got a new character that's allegedly going to be part of your future DC. And then you're going to go backwards and show us Aquaman 2 that nobody cares about. Like the release date, release Aquaman 2 first and at least end on a somewhat positive note with Blue Beetle just for being something new, then go backwards. Like, because if Blue Beetle bombs, you think Aquaman 2 is going to do anything?
if anything, Aquaman 2 should have came out before Flash did.
Dude, right? I think it was supposed to.
Yeah,
Well, look, man, guys, thank you for everybody for joining this conversation tonight. I really appreciate it. I don't do lives enough, but I'm going to try to do them more. You can go ahead and follow and comment. You can listen to the Life of an Average Joe podcast. You can go to lifeofanaveragejopodcast.com or just click the link in the bio. Thank you guys for all the gifts. You guys are amazing. I want to thank my buddy, my good friend, a guy that I love to talk to, Nick Luck, for joining me tonight on TikTok. Our paths have not crossed in a while. I've been checked out. He's been checked out. But man, it's so good to just be back, and I really appreciate it. And you guys make sure you give Nick a follow too, and check out everything that he's doing, not just on TikTok, but with his books and his art and his podcast, everything that Nick has going on. Very fun stuff, very cool, creative dude. Love talking to him. Can't wait to do it again.
Same here. Thank you for inviting me on this. It was great to finally get to talk about these things, especially Secret Invasion with it being so fresh
Oh yeah.
and just looking towards the future, which hopefully is going to be brighter than what we're seeing. But
It's
it's,
rough right now. It's rough.
yeah.
And look, and mind you, my criticisms of Secret Invasion don't take away from the fact that I enjoyed it. I
Yeah.
absolutely enjoyed it. It just, the end again. I was like, okay, cool. 6 episodes. Great. You know,
Yeah. The potential wasn't fully fulfilled. It's nice, at least.
something fresh, you know. So,
Yeah.
so Nick, before we go, what do you have going on? Do a little quick plug to everybody here.
Ooh, excuse me. I've been addicted to the video game Exo Primal, so actually tonight I'm going to be recording an episode for my podcast, talking about the game. I'm trying to get the word out. I've been hearing a lot of people praising the game.
Okay.
Haven't been seeing Capcom really advertising it though, which is really weird. But the game has crossed like over 1 million players, so I'm very excited about that. But the future for this game looks bright.
Nice.
So I'm trying to plug the crap out of that. I'm getting my book's behind. I was supposed to drop it next month, but my goal is to drop it by the end of this year.
Nice.
My new book, which is another series, but they all connect, so it's just a continuation, really. So there's an update on that. That's the first update I've given about that in a while. So far, that's pretty much it, other than an art show I'm doing in September. So I'm getting like
Nice.
art prints ready. But yeah, that's it so far.
I think you talked to me about that art show, man. Yeah, I hope we get to see a lot of social media posts and TikToks and all that as you're at the art show. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Thank you.
Well, cool. Well, we'll be back and we'll do it again. I'm going to call it a night. Nick, I will talk to you soon. We'll do this or a wisdom sesh, or we'll probably jump on your TikTok live next time.
Sounds good.
So and yeah, come up with something. Nick's going to go see Blue Beetle before me, so make sure you follow that. Otherwise, guys, thank you so much and have a great night, and everybody be safe out there. We'll see you next time.
Take care.
Later.